The Merrillville Town Council for today, Tuesday, February 13th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for our invocation, followed by a moment of silence.
Let's pray. Oh God, our Father, what a privilege to come before you this evening. And first of all, Lord, to say thank you for your wisdom, your knowledge, the grace, and the protection you've provided for our community. We thank you, God, Father, for those who serve to protect. And Father, you watch care over them. So Father, as we enter into this meeting tonight, it's your guidance and wisdom we seek. Give us that insight and bring us together as a people. Help this community to be a place for our families to grow and thrive. And we thank you all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Is there a veteran in the audience this evening? No? Chief Newses, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. January, would you please call the roll?
Vice President Neal. Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Here.
Councilwoman Chandler Felter.
Present. Present.
Councilwoman Uselick.
Present.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Here.
President Bella.
Here.
All present, 7 present.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. We have a letter of recommendation from Steve King, our Street Department Director, recommending a company to do the 2023-2 Community Crossings project. He's recommending the responsible bidder in the amount of $1,352,925.97 going to HWC Engineering. That's a recommendation for Milestone Contractors. We'll entertain a motion to approve that request.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of the contract with Milestone. Questions or comments? Mr. Svetnoff, are you familiar with this?
Yes, I am here.
Everything in order?
Everything's in order and ready to approve.
Very good. Any other discussion from the council? Mr. January, roll call, please, given the amount here.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselick.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 ayes, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the North Police Station lease. We have before you from National Eagle LLC, the grant and term of the lease for the North Police Station. The amount is $950 per month. The term is February 1st, 2024 through January 31st of 2027. And I'll ask Counselor if everything's in order on this lease.
It is. I've reviewed it, and everything seems to be in order. As long as we agree to the terms, I suggest that the council go ahead and approve such a lease.
Chief Newses, anything to add?
I just want to say thank you for the council on that one. I know we were out of money. We didn't have enough money to actually fund it, so we were going to pull the plug. So I just want to say thank you for you guys for stepping up and helping us out with it.
Very good.
May God bless you.
Any other questions or comments?
May God bless you all day.
I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Ms. Hardaway. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher approval for February 13th, the approval of the council work study minutes for January 18th, the approval of the town council meeting minutes of January 23rd, and the memo from Mr. Griffin regarding Andrean waiver of charges at the community center.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak,
Second.
second by Mrs. Neal, for approval of the consent agenda. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no additional appropriations this evening, so moving on to standing and special committee reports. Budget and Finance, Mrs. Neal.
No report.
Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Street Department, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes, I have met last week with Steve King, Kevin Markle, and Terry, I believe is her name. Is that her name? I
Tracy.
think? Tracy, sorry.
Yeah, Tracy.
Well, anyway, Steve King has talked about all the garbage he has to pick up, those 300 weight gallon bags, whatever they are. People are throwing them in the street, dirty diapers, bottles, et cetera, tires, which they carry on to Crown Point to be recycled. Merrillville does that when they're in the street. So actually, they're taking up a lot of our street department time, and Steve is recommending we hire 2 more fellows to help, because we're going to have a leaf pickup now. Spring is coming, we're going to have more paving, and I don't know, I can't remember the exact amount of people that are working there, maybe 20-something, I believe. I might be incorrect on the figure, but I think it's 22, 24. So anyway, we will have to hire 2 more people for the street department, and that is for sure. And I think the pay is like 22 something per hour. So maybe we could look into that. And now what else he has going is that Wex card that they are using for gasoline, the same thing the police department uses, right?
Yes.
Police chief? Okay. And they get approximately 5% discount with that card. But in the meantime, we have the tanks underneath the ground, and they are deteriorating. But they will have to be picked up. He's got 2 bids, 2 different companies, one out of Chicago, and I think one's called Northwestern. I might be wrong on that.
Northern Indiana Mechanic.
Okay, but it's $45,000 apiece to do that, to pick them up, get them out of there, which they have to be out of there. They are a hazard with the chemicals in there. So we won't be using item anymore, neither after this, because we will be using that gas card, which is good. And he's also had a lot of calls, Steve did, on blighted property. So they have to go out there, cars are parked on the lawn, they're parked sideways by the curbs, they're just in the way of the trucks, and the street department shouldn't have to be bothered with that. Code enforcer, they've been going out there giving tickets, so maybe we could put something in our newsletter regarding this. Parking cars on the lawn, this is out, way out. But that's about the gist of my report so
Okay.
far. But Steve King did recommend that we do get 2 more people, which I do think we do need at this time.
Mr. Griffin, can you see about funding for 2 positions? And also, if Steve has 90,000 in his budget to remove the old gas tanks?
If I'm not mistaken, President Bella, the gas tanks were it was 2 estimates at 45,000 to remove the 2, so it would only be 145,000.
Oh, okay.
No, we're only going to do 1. I'm sorry if you didn't understand that.
I
They
thought-
had
okay.
2 bids, but they were the same.
Okay,
And they preferred that one company from Chicago.
well,
Mr. President, I will follow up, and members of the council, Mr. Clerk Treasurer, I will follow up with Mr. King about that. I will tell you that we'll be challenged because that was a request he had posed to us during the preparation of the 2024 budget, and we weren't able to create that at that time. So there may be a way, we'll have to wait a little while, but that'll be in consequence of a future discussion. But I will follow up on that. Thank you.
thank you.
President Bella. I'd like to make a suggestion that we get the community involved and do as I've mentioned before, when I lived in Chicago, we had a spring clean. If we get the community more involved, people become more aware and responsible for taking care of the community, and we can probably reduce some of the cost. And because Steve King is doing an excellent job, I just applauded him just day before yesterday about how he's cleaning up. But if people don't have change their mindset about just throwing stuff on the lawn or wherever it's at, it's never going to change. Right, and we'll never have enough money, and it's always going to be dirty. But if we get people involved, give them some trash bags,
Sure.
have some hot dogs and different things, have a party at the end of the cleanup. So
Well, maybe,
that's my
Mr.
suggestion.
President, you put a line or two in your next newsletter from the town about a cleanup and trying to keep our streets
Sure.
clean. I think that would help.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We go on to elections, public relations, and town beautification. Mrs. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to give an update on our town slogan, we are currently at about a total of 353 votes, with 75% of those votes leaning towards one of the slogans. So one of them is very popular. Probably going to run it just until the end of the week and go ahead and tally it up so we can have our new slogan for the next town meeting. So that's worked out very, very well. And also, we did get a quote from Hugh Bangers for our plants and everything that we use to help beautify the building here, and other areas that we utilize from Hugh Bangers. And we're gonna have a meeting with them. I have to get with Matt Lake to see if we can get a meeting scheduled to just go over the contract and make sure that they are upholding their end of the contract when it comes to taking care of the plants and everything that we've purchased.
Great, thank you.
Well, I suggested, excuse me,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
President.
Yeah.
I had suggested, after reading their bids on what we're paying, 2 and 3 different amounts of money, and I think that maybe we should take other bids from other companies.
That's something we can think about.
I
Sure.
think so, because I'm sure somebody else could do the same thing, maybe a little cheaper. I mean, we're up into the thousands with Ubinger. But thank you.
Anything else, Mrs. Neal?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Environmental Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, and I don't know if this is appropriate now, if you want me to do this under my committee, but I believe, have an appointment to the Lake County Solid Waste District that we need to make, correct?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Is that under old business? I know the amended
No.
agenda.
I was going to do it under the commissioner reports.
Okay, all right. Then no report.
Okay. Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Ms. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our committee has been busy. We are in the active process of interviewing a director for the Parks Department, so that is ongoing. The interview shall be coming forth here pretty soon, and hopefully we'll have a new director on staff pretty soon. We have a new wealth management company that would like to come in and pitch to our employees on benefits to increase their portfolios or to start their portfolios so that they can have a great future once they leave the town of Merrillville. So that is ongoing. And we are making amendments to the employee handbook. So we have our personnel and policy manual. There's a sheet here in the notes, the minutes, and we'll be going over that and adding some verbiage to that as well. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Thank you. Just keep the floor, Ms. Hardaway. We're public safety.
Thanks. I didn't read well enough. Public safety, we just approved for the North Station, so that's going forward. We will have some officers staffed out of there and some other activities so that it is a viable part of the north end of Merrillville. We met for our emergency action plan. That is ongoing as we are adding to that plan. We will be going out to department heads so that they can take a look. We're adding some verbiage from the police department, and we are getting some training underway. So our public safety committee is busy as well.
Very good.
Now I'm done, Mr. President. Thank you.
Very well. Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Parks and Recreation, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes, well, with spring coming now, the parks in Merrillville, the leaves will be picked up, the parks will be mowed, and I keep my eye on the bike trail, which is very clean. The park department is taking care of that. So, and we're going to have 2 part-time jobs available through Dean and Barbara White Center. And these part-time jobs will probably help out with the parks in one direction or another. But we haven't chosen anybody yet. I had attended the meeting with Ms. Hardaway, and we will be picking out a director, as she has said. We have gone through different applications. But what we still need is the 2 part-time people for the Parks Department. I think that would help tremendously, too. So that's where I'm at with the parks. Thank you.
Abandoned and blighted properties,
Nothing to
Mrs. Haynes
report.
Edwards.
Oh, apologies. Nothing to report.
Utility Liaison, Ms. Chandler Felton.
No report at this time.
Thank you. Special Town Projects, Mrs. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are in the midst of planning and getting ready to have our annual Black History Program. You guys should have seen flyers around. The information is also on our social media pages. You can see it, find the information there. Our Black History Program is our annual scholarship and celebration event, Still I Rise, Created for Greatness. It's February 23rd at from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Dean and Barbara Community Center. Tickets are $50. I think we are about 70% there. Ms. Shine?
Yeah, we
80% there?
75% there, but we encourage the public to please buy tickets.
Yes, there are tickets that are still for sale. You can get them here at Town Hall. You can get them at the community center, and the tickets are only $5. And most importantly, this goes for the scholarships that we give out to Merrillville High School and Andrean High School to seniors. So they greatly benefit from the Black History Program.
$50.
50, did I say 50?
Five, second
Oh,
time.
50, oh my God.
We're gonna have them come
They're
in.
not a discount. That was not a discount strike, it's $50. I'm like, fine. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Good job by the committee on that. It's all falling together. That's nice. Moving on tonight to Department and Commission reports. The first item A is the Lake County Solid Waste Management District. As the council knows, we don't have an appointee yet, but at this time, after speaking with Rhonda Neal, I would like to ask for a motion to have Rhonda Neal appointed to serve, represent the town of Merrillville on the Lake County Solid Waste Management District Board.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit.
You have no new messages.
I have 9 new messages, in case anyone needs to know that.
I second.
We have a second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Rhonda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a report?
Actually, I do have a report.
There's
I
a
will-
meeting Thursday.
Yes, I'll be meeting Thursday. My very first meeting is this Thursday, so I get to come back with some more information for the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for doing this, too. Next item is the Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. Ms. Hardaway.
No report. The next meeting that I will be attending will be in April.
Very good. Stormwater Management Resources, our director is Matt Lake.
Yeah, real quick. We're fully immersed in design for Independence Hill, 3rd Edition subdivision. This is west of Taft, south of 30. It's one of the oldest subdivisions in the town of Merrillville. So I had a good meeting with Robinson Engineering. They got some preliminary utility locates and survey work done. One of the good things recently is that the owner of the old Burger King property there, it would behoove us to have an easement through there to have a secondary outlet for the subdivision, and he seems agreeable to that. So that's going to be a favorable thing in terms of design for that particular area. Homer Tree Service is in cleanup and restoration mode for the risk tree removals in Turkey Creek subdivision. This morning I presented at the Northwest Indiana Tree Planting Consortium. I talked about trees and stormwater management, things that we have implemented here. They've also mentioned a number of opportunities coming down in terms of U.S. Forest Service grants. So that's something we'll definitely take advantage as we move forward. Speaking of grants, I'm submitting 2 grant proposals to IDM. These are for the climate pollution reduction grants. They are 100% funded. There's no match required. And so I'm looking at the climate action plan and as much recycled pipe as I can gather in terms of materials in anticipation of the 3rd edition project in Independence Hill. Also, we'll be hosting a regional workshop. This is the erosion control construction workshop at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. We have a date, March 8th from 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. And that's all I have at this point.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Mr. President, I have
Mrs.
to
Uselak.
thank Matt Lake, which he reported to me before the meeting. I had called in about numerous dead trees in Southbrook on 73rd Place. And Matt took care of that and cut them all down, and I know the people are happy.
Yeah, these-
Okay, thank you, Matt,
No problem.
thank you.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to the Fire Territory Board, Mrs. Neal and Ms. Hardaway. Anything to report?
No, I don't have a report at all.
I know that Chief Yerger reached out and he will be scheduling a meeting soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in February, so they're moving it along.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to department reports, Police Chief, Costa Nueces.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just want to make everybody aware that we have chosen to continue and renew our partnership with 2 of the federal agencies, one being the ATF and the other being the FBI. It's pretty important to have somebody out there and to have their resources, the resources that they have, we could never have, just due to the nature of, basically, I think it's safe to say it's their budget. They have a lot more money than us. So when you work as a partnership, it's often very beneficial because you give up 1 officer and in return you get about 12 back. So this has been very successful for us. One of the reasons why we had such a low amount of homicides last year was because of this. We had intel that we were gathering prior and we were able to stop things before they happened. So this is something that I'm interested in continuing. And as you can see, there's been a huge problem throughout the whole country with these illegal guns and these Glock switches that they're called. It's basically a little device that you can get on the Glock brand pistols, and it turns the pistol into fully automatic. It's federally illegal, but seems to be something that's very readily available throughout the country, and people all around are doing it. So we are choosing to keep an officer with the ATF. So I'm going to have an announcement to make at the next meeting. We're going to enter a partnership with another local agency, but everything's not finished yet, but I'm so excited that I had to make a little bit of a mention of it. You're going to start seeing a lot more proactive policing here when it comes to crimes. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Planning and Building, Ms. Shine.
Yes, Mr. President, I passed out this evening to every council person our 2023 year in review. Just a couple of highlights from the review. We had 19 Plan Commission petitions, 36 Board of Zoning Appeals petitions, 4 Plat Committee reviews. We issued 1,817 building permits. The total cost of improvements was for the entire year was $193,923,487. The total cost of fees collected was $1,746,854.04. There's a page in there that talks about the the 5-year review of all the permits. So if you could go back 5 years and see how far we've come as far as building in the town of Merrillville. And also, just to point out on the graph that's in there, commercial was 23%. That includes our warehouses, because in our permit tracks, it says industrial 0, but in our permit tracks, all of our warehouses come under commercial warehouses. So in case anybody had questions. Other reports in the report was our how many inspections the inspectors went out on, rental registration, and our home occupation report.
Very good.
So that concludes the 2023 year in review. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So you have a couple items on the agenda later tonight, is that right?
I do.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to Town Manager's Report, Mr. Griffin.
Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Clerk Treasurer, thank you. I did issue before the meeting at your stations a written report of my monthly report of activity. I have nothing in particular I want to highlight out of that, so if that is sufficient, I'll be very happy to sit down, but I will take a question if there's anything you have of me. I also have some stuff on the agenda later as well.
Anything for Michael? Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Moving on this evening to general orders, we have first reading ordinances, ordinance 24-01. It's an ordinance appropriating additional monies in excess of the annual budget for the Municipal Capital Development Fund. Mr. Griffin, anything to add to this? Seems like we're moving a lot of money to support the operation of the North Police Station.
Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Clerk Treasurer, yes, the Municipal Cumulative Capital Development Fund was a super cum fund authorized by Indiana law in 1984. You adopted it in 1985. It's gone through some iterations, but basically it allows you to accumulate resources to be used for mostly capital, but the law has been modified over time. You can use it for other things. There was a need to be able to find resources in order to pass the lease that you adopted earlier this evening. So a good deal of that represents our first year's commitment under the terms of that lease, based on the lease and also estimates provided to me by the police chief with regard to the associated costs. About $69,065 of that is associated with finally getting our bill for the municipal elections from 2023. We need to have a spot to pay for that. That is going to be paid from an appropriation transfer that you'll consider later tonight, but this anticipates restoring the money from the source in the fund to put it at status quo ante. And there is also the hopes of your consideration for the challenge that we have for animal impoundment sites. The chief has pursued a renewal or actually a first-time agreement with the county. The fee for that is essentially estimated at $60 per dog per month and prorated at $2 a day. So this estimate for an additional appropriation is based on a 15-dog population for each month of 12 months based on that fee. Whether that's sufficient or not, I'd like to tell you that this is an informed algorithm, but it's really a guess.
Yeah.
But I do believe it's a good way to start. And unless there's a specific question, Mr. President, we hope that you'll at least introduce this for second reading this evening and then set it aside for your public hearing on your next meeting, February 27th.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair, I entertain a motion for approval of ordinance number 24-01 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak for approval. Open for discussion. Hearing no discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Mr. January?
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7-0, motion carries.
I thank the council.
Next on the item agenda is the ordinance 24-02. It's an ordinance of the Town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, amending ordinance 23-26, fixing the wages and pay for officers and employees of the Town of Merrillville for fiscal year 2024. This is actually going to correct some errors I believe we've had in our salary ordinance, to which we're still trying to figure out how it even happened, right? Mr. Griffin?
Mr. President, that is correct. We
Doesn't
also are
matter.
asking, it's been noted in the agenda, we don't like to do this ordinarily, but we're asking you to invoke Section 41 of the the Merrillville Municipal Code to suspend the rules and adopt this evening. As alluded to by the President, this is to correct some errors for essentially 4 work classes that we've had that enjoyed a different pay rate for at least 14 months until this year, the second pay period In the third pay period of this year, they referred to the actual adoption of the wage and salary ordinance that we had in place, and there was a disparity that we discovered between what we'd adopted and thought we were paying and what was actually paid. We're still trying to investigate that, but if this is adopted, the language in it will correct for that and also ratify the past behavior, and it'll be a fresh start and will be much more, I think we're going to work a lot harder on our due diligence, which actually was owing to the clerk treasurer's due diligence to go back to the language that was always in our ordinance, but it did point out this correction. We're asking the grace of the council to allow this to be considered and adopted this evening.
These are basically some hourly rates, right, Michael?
That is correct. In every case, it's an hourly rate.
I have a question.
Mrs.
Mr.
Uselak.
Griffin?
Yes,
Oh, thank you. What about 3%? Were all the employees or department heads given 3%?
Yeah, that was done.
That was done already.
Oh, nobody else got a higher raise outside of 3%?
No.
Everybody
Well,
got 3%?
police officers.
Police
Pardon?
officers did as part of the FOP
right,
contract.
they have,
Okay, what did they
Separate.
get?
Well, actually, I think theirs was.
I think yours
Three
was
Yours
three.
is 3-2,
Three,
chief?
3%?
3.
Yes.
Okay,
For that contract.
and everybody else got 3%, correct?
I believe that nearly everybody else got. I don't think all part-timers got anything,
Oh, part-timers, no,
Yes,
I didn't
full-time,
think
yeah.
so.
but full-time
Full-time, yeah,
workers,
not the
that's
hours.
Yeah,
correct.
all the full-timers, right. Well, I was curious with the budget. Well, thank you very much, Michael.
You're very welcome.
Mr.
Thank you.
President, I
Thank you.
make a motion to approve ordinance 24-02.
I second that.
Thank you by Mr. Pettit, and a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of ordinance 24-02 on first reading. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards, Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
I'm going to vote aye with Leona tonight.
7 in favor.
Still 7 in favor.
Mr. President, I make a motion to suspend the rules and hear 24-02 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit to suspend the rules, second by Ms. Hardaway, to suspend the rules to read this ordinance 24-02 on second reading. Questions or comments from the council on the rules to suspend? Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor. We're going to suspend the rules to hear ordinance 24-02 on second and final reading tonight. Chair will entertain a motion. I don't think we need to go through all the verbiage again.
so moved.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak,
Second.
second by Mrs. Neal for approval of 24-02 on second and final reading. There again, correcting some hourly rates and such in the salary ordinance. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. Mr. January.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye. 7-0, Mr.
Yes,
January?
7-0.
Thank you.
I thank
Motion
the
carries,
council.
Mr. Griffin.
I thank the council.
We have
The
no
workers
second,
will too.
You're welcome.
we have no second reading ordinances tonight. We do have resolutions. Resolution 24-03. Mr. Griffin, I believe this resolution moves the money that you talked about earlier in the evening.
Yes, Mr. President. As you know, in public sector finance, we have objects of expense. Sometime we have to move them from one object of expense, 400 series being capital, 300 series being professional or contractual services. So we're asking you to take the steps of adopting this resolution, which will move $69,000 from equipment and allocate it between election costs and parks improvements, restoring the 30 that was there, covering something previously, which we are going to fully restore. I hope after your favorable action on the additional appropriation hearing, your next meeting. But we do need council approval to move between objects of expense, and we hope you'll favor this resolution.
Michael, did you say 69,000 or 59,000?
I hope I said 69,
did.
Madam.
Oh, okay, it should be 69,000. Okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
Is that a motion, Mrs. Uselak?
Yes,
Okay.
there's a motion on that from me.
Motion from Mrs. Uselak to approve Resolution 24-03 for $69,064.05.
Rick.
Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pettit. Thank you. Questions or comments on the transfer of funds? Hearing none, a simple resolution requires a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Again, I thank the council.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Moving on to Resolution 24-04. It's another transfer of funds in the Town of Merrillville 2024 budget. We're moving money from the General Fund Secretary and General Fund Longevity, the amount of $25,000 and $3,000, totals $28,000, into the General Contractual Services. This is for the town courts, I believe, to pay for some legal fees, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, Mr. President, I believe that's correct.
The amount's $28,000, and net effect is zero.
I have a question, Mr.
Mrs.
Griffin.
Uselak?
That 28,000 that's going into court to pay legal fees, you said?
Mr. President, Madam Councilwoman, this is actually no net change in the overall budget. They're moving from other parts of their budget into a line that's appropriate to pay legal services. This is the contracted attorney that the courts have used throughout the course of the litigation with which this is associated. I will say this because the judge cannot. I wish that his bills were more timely, but they are what they are, and the services were delivered. So we have a duty, but we needed to put it in the proper spot to make the payment if the council will so allow us to.
Oh, is that,
Thank you.
is that regarding or concerning the interim attorney or judge too?
No.
Is that in the
No,
itemized bill?
Legal fees.
No, this is
Just
legal
the
fees
legal
just
fees.
associated with representing the judge in the court.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't think you didn't have a motion, Mr. President.
Oh, let's do that. Let's have a
Well, I'll
motion.
give you the motion to approve.
Mrs. Uselak threw me off. Mrs. Uselak's making the motion for approval.
Okay.
Second.
I thought it was out there.
Mrs. Neal? As a second, thank you. Now is there discussion on the motion? Still hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Pettit, for keeping us on track. Moving on tonight to the American Rescue Plan, we have the AP voucher register summary for ARP, purchases for February 13th. The amount is $218,288.74.
Mr. President, if I may.
Mr. Griffin.
We have not had a meeting of the ARPA committee yet. We just got back to the resolution that established them, or the ordinance, so we know that we just have to get a chair, so when we can contact the council membership, we're going to try to convene that. In the absence of that, I've been signing off on these as town manager. There is nothing that is represented there that hasn't been approved by the existing ARPA committee, so there's no new expenditures. They either reflected existing approved projects,
Right.
or they were related to recurrent costs that were also consistent with the Treasury guidance on this.
Thank you for clarity on that. We still need a motion for approval, council.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Uselak, a second by Mr. Pettit for approval of the ARP voucher. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, Mr. January. Please pay those bills.
Will do.
Moving on tonight to the BZA and large gathering actions, I'll call on Ms. Shine to walk us through these tonight.
Mr. President, we have two petitioners. Our first petitioner for this evening is Alvin Lacey from Legacy Sports. Petitioner is requesting a variance of use approval from Section 21-136 to allow a sports performance facility to be located in an M2 Industrial Corridor Overlay District on 20.606 acres located at 6110 Broadway in Unit 7. Petitioner has over 20 years of coaching and training experience. He started coaching youth sports in the early 2000s. In 2010, Petitioner started his first organization called MOADS, Ministry of Influence Through Sports. Soon he began to see a lot of players getting into high school and lose focus and get involved in other things. In 2016, he began Legacy Sports because he saw a need to bridge the gap between youth and high school sports. Legacy Sports has a few components. Legacy Sports LLC trains athletes in strength, core, speed, and agility. Petitioner trains athletes that come from Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and the Kankakee area. He has trained players from Merrillville High School, currently training athletes from Munster High School, Lake Central, Andrean, and more. He also has an NFP portion which allows athletes to play 7-on-7 travel football and has had great success. Legacy Sports has had athletes to enter into the NFL draft, and presently one of his athletes plays for the New York Jets. Petitioner has obtained an interior remodel permit for the site and is located in a Crossroad Plaza. Petitioner is aware of the camera ordinance, and he is the only instructor, and he's open from 7 to 7 a.m. Weekly, 7 days, right, Lacey?
Yes.
And it is by an appointment only, and it is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. Mr. President, this is a variance of use because the plaza is zoned M2. Mr. Lacy.
Yes, how you doing? Good evening. So I've been coaching for a pretty long time. Right now, I currently coach at Brother Rice High School in Chicago. I'm the varsity defensive back coach. We do have a couple young men that entered the NFL draft this year, Isaiah Cole out of Oklahoma, and Ryan Flournoy out of southeastern Missouri. We have Xavier Valladay, who was the running back for the New York Jets, that has come from our program as well. We do core. We're sponsored by Shock Doctor, so we do a lot of travel tournaments with a not-for-profit. Eventually, I just had a meeting with Keisha at the Parks and Recs. What we would like to do is bring a tournament to Merrillville. And I'm trying to set up a meeting with Adrian, AD, and Merrillville High School AD so we can have uses of the fields, and also with the Barbara Dean's field, youth field as well. That will bring probably about 40 to 50 different states just to the area. And you're looking at probably from 50 to 100 different teams, from 5-star to, regular kids that's just out there trying to get the reps. We also offer tutoring because you're one injury away of never playing a sport again. So for those kids that need tutoring and academic help, we do that also, not just with just regular class, but ACT and SAT, even though some schools are not using that anymore. So we do a lot of different things. We are hearing earlier about spring cleanup. We would love to be a part of that. When I was with Park Forest, we worked at the food pantries. I had a youth football team called the Park Forest Hurricanes. So we did things like that. The high school kids can get a letter of recognition on our letterhead that goes in their college portfolio as well. We also help them with college recruiting, the do's and don'ts of social media, so they get a certificate of that as well. With the training, like I said, I've been doing this for a pretty long time, pretty extensive. It's not just about how much you can lift. It's about muscle stamina. As we all know in life, the best type of ability is availability. So if you're not available, it's on to the next. So we try to make sure that they know what they're doing and they go in prepared with their high school. We're not trying to take over the high school, but we're trying to help enhance the coach. The coaches only get 2 hours, per practice to do what they need to do within the high school. So yes, we have trained kids from Merrillville High School. Jeremiah Howard, who had got a 5-year scholarship to NIU. He was been with me since he was 7 years old. Devon Moore, who graduated from Winona State. Peyton Young, who was a running back in safety last year. We have a freshman at Adrian who played varsity at linebacker and currently working with kids from running back from Lake Central and kids from Munster High School, and they just got their new head coach. So we are inundated. We bring kids all the way from Bismarck, Illinois. So the trust is there. We have a big presence on social media. This is not something that we take lightly. Like I tell the parents, we thank them for giving us the opportunity to be a part of their journey, because every athlete's different. My kids played sports. My daughter ran track in college at Carthage University. My oldest son played football at Carthage College. My youngest son plays at Winona State. They all got their degrees. My oldest daughter, she just went to Trinity and got her degree. So we are a sport-oriented family. I played basketball and football across the border in Illinois at Bloom Trail High School. Tore my Achilles tendon, so I understand the hurt that comes with not being able to do something that you love. So it is an integral part of our life. My wife, she supports me. For 28 years, she was, my backbone with the Hurricanes and did the cheer and the concession stand. So I understand the whole dynamics of what goes on with youth sports. So this is something that we're passionate about. Everywhere I've been to, I try to move. We live out here now. We've been out here for 4 years. So we try to be a part of our community and give back to the community as well within that.
I have a question.
Mrs. Uselak.
Mr. Lacy, are you charging fees for your coaching?
Yes, for the training, yes, it is. It's all on our
Okay,
website.
what are your fees?
It just depends on what it is for youth. If it's skill position training for football, you get 4 sessions, and it's $160 a month for every 4 sessions. So they're consecutive sessions. For high school, it's $200 because it's kind of hard. With kids and you're trying to teach them something and you want to get building blocks. So we want to keep creating on what they learned the following week. So we do consecutive sessions. If it's for speed and agility, they go 3 days a week, youth Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Evenings from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., high school from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's $275 a month for high school and $200 a month, no contract with youth. So they have waiver forms as well. They have to sign on our website as well. And parents are welcome to sit in. We have videos up, tutorials, and things like that as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
What are your hours of operation?
7 a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. is our last session. We close the doors at 8 p.m. On Sundays, we're out of there. On weekends, Saturdays, and Sundays, we're out at 12.
Anything else from the council?
Does this interfere with the high school programs?
No, this is
Not at all.
off-season training. 7-on-7.
okay. It's
Yes,
all
that's all
off-season
off-season training, yep.
Do you have any people that are interested right now, or that you?
Oh, I have a big following. I've been doing this for training since 2016, so I came from South Chicago Heights. We just needed a bigger facility because we're growing rapidly. So like I said, our college kids come home in the summer, so they usually take our early morning sessions because that's what they're used to in college. They got to get up. And so even when we do practices for our 7-on-7, I just signed a contract with the Sparta Dome. We have 6 a.m. practices on Sunday. You have to get up. You have to perform. College coaches don't care about your excuses. They want your results. And they're paying you to come to school through your scholarship. It's different from other athletes that played because you have the NIL. You have the transfer portal. There's so many different things that they have to go against now as athletes. So they have to understand that it is a business, so.
Thank you.
Ms. Hardaway, did you have a motion for the council?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Hardaway.
I will second it with a comment, Mr. President.
Mr. Pettit's going to second it for comments.
Mr. Lacy, thank you for doing this. To my colleagues, and I see the boards back there, and I've asked this before, Joe, this is another variance of use that has to come through because that property got rezoned. And we really need to look at bringing that ordinance back up, Joe, and taking the zoning off that Mr. Israel had. And I'm going to beat that drum because I voted against that. Now, this gentleman has to come before the BZA and the town council, whereby, Sheila, he could have just rented the space and moved right in and gotten started with his business, right? Mm-hmm. We can't handcuff these people that want to do business in Merrillville because of somebody else's mistake down the road years ago. So, again, I'm going to beat that drum, Joe. I want that ordinance brought back up under old business. It's out there on the boards. We heard Marty talk about the Crossroads Plaza and the Broadway Plaza and making investments in there. This is the first step. We got to take the zoning back to the C2 commercial. Thank you for coming to town and investing in us.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Sheila and Mr. Svetnoff, I believe.
Take it to the bring it to the plan commission.
Take it to the
We
plan
can look at it at the plan commission.
It's
All
a
we gotta do is
council,
reverse the zoning commitments.
it's a council,
Anytime you're
it's
ready.
a council
Yep.
move.
Any other discussions on this petitioner?
Oh, we haven't voted yet, sir.
Hearing none.
We're alumni. Hey, she's 85 and 92, so.
Mr. January, let's do a roll call on this, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella,
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor. You may celebrate now, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Our last petition for the evening, Katrina Price, special exception approval in a C2 community commercial zoning district for a daycare center. Petitioner is requesting special exception approval from section 21-136 to allow a daycare center to be located at 250 West 61st Avenue in a C2 Community Commercial Zoning District on .362 acres. Petitioner would like to operate a child care center to be known as Bright Kids Early Advancement Child Care. Bright Kids Early Advancement Child Care is a family child care program dedicated to fostering the holistic development of young minds with a rich history in early childhood since 2011. Petitioner brings a wealth of experience and holds prestigious qualifications, including the Early Childhood Credential, National Director's Credential, and the Path to Quality Level 4. The program is honored to be accredited by the NAFCC, reflecting our community to excellence in family child care. At Bright Kids, the mission is clear to deliver a high-quality program that focuses on social and emotional development of children in our community, promotes early academic success, and actively engages with families served. Bright Kids strives to create an environment that advances children learning experience, ensuring that they are academically prepared for kindergarten with an emphasis on reading readiness. Petitioner currently has a home daycare in Merrillville. She has a permit for the construction of the daycare center. The fire inspector has inspected the property. The total number of students will be 35, staff 8, hours of operation 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., days of week, Monday through Friday, curriculum ages 1 to 2, infant and 2, tools teaching strategy, curriculum age 3 to 6, preschool, kindergarten creative curriculum, and parent communication system Brightwheel. Parents will have to walk their children inside the facility and check them in and out by kiosk or sign children out manually. Petitioner is aware of the camera ordinance and is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only.
Hello, I am Katrina Price. This is my time to speak. I'm sorry. I am looking to open up a childcare at 250 West 61st Avenue. I've been operating a family childcare business since 2011, and we've been quite successful with it. We do have students who have graduated on and have been really overly prepared for kindergarten. That's what we want to continue. We want them to be confident when they go into kindergarten, because if they stumble across something that they don't know, but they know abundance of things that children are just starting out to learn, like they may simply know their ABCs, 1, 2, 3s when they're going into kindergarten. That's typically what they start them at. But our children that's leaving our program is knowing their sight words and how to take those sight words and build small sentences. So they're ahead of what's actually happening when they first go into kindergarten. So the hopes of is that the teacher will start off from where they are. So if they are already knowing the things that you would know, where you normally would teach a child in kindergarten, but they're more for advanced, maybe this will give them a head start to just start off from where we left off.
Excellent. Chair, I'll entertain a motion for this.
Well, I'd like to ask a question.
Oh, Mrs. Uselak, go ahead.
Is this daycare in a residence? Is
The-
it in a house or what?
The current one is in a house. The one that we are preparing is in a, it's going to be in a commercial building. Well, it's been converted over into commercial, so we're just gonna transition into a
What
center.
building is that there?
It is,
61st?
it is the building that sits right across, it's on 61st Avenue. It is a gray building. It sits right across the street from Ruler Foods. It was a
Is that close to
Insurance
that
place.
church, St.
Insurance
Michael's
place.
Church?
right.
No.
No.
The insurance was one.
Former Progressive Insurance place.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Are you getting any state financial help from the state on this?
I'm not getting any grants, no.
Nothing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Are you gonna have any outside play facilities?
Yes, I am.
So she is in, working with Robinson Engineer and Matt Lake on that part of it. She's actually doing the interior part. She has a state design release to work on the interior, and she's working with Matt Lake and Robinson Engineer on the parking lot and the playground area. The playground area has to be state approved, so before she can open, the state of Indiana would have to come in and approve her. But the process is you have to get approved by the municipality first before they will come in. But the state will come in and look at the playground area and all of that. Matt, they have those plans right now.
I was gonna ask if they're with the playground, because I know the children need to be fenced in.
Yeah, they have.
And then what would park entering, picking up and drop, what would pick up and drop off look like on that busy street, and the way that that parking lot is made? But if you're working with Matt, then I'm sure they'll get you together.
Yes.
Matt, did you want to comment on that?
No, just that they redesigned the parking lot to, for those amenities for safe pickup
Okay.
and exit from the building. The building's on the corner there. And so, added quick parking for also workers there as well, not interfere with the pickup and delivery of children. And, you mentioned the outside play area that's on there as well. So we have looked at that, as well as a little bit of drainage on the site. And it's definitely an improvement to what's there now.
Great.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve this daycare center.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak. Who did the second?
Second.
Ms. Chandler Felton. Any questions or comments on the motion?
President Bella, I just wanted to mention, I believe that's a great location. I hope that you do very well there.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, Mr. January, let's call the roll, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
welcome.
I don't believe we have any old business before us. Is there any new business? Public comment this evening. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes. Is there any public comment?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Berger out of the 6945 Broadway. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I just want to know if there's a way that we can improve a street. It's Massachusetts between 68th and 70th. It's not a street, it's technically an alley, and it floods. And it's, it's the rear of my property, and it's over by Pierce, in case you're wondering where it's at. And Sean knows about it, and I talked to Matt Lake. Matt, can you help me out here about this a little bit?
The road currently is a dead-end street. It exceeds 600 feet in length, which is really non-conforming to today's standards with regards to safety. If we purchase a little right-of-way along 68 there where the gas station is, I think Mr. Prince owns that property, we could connect that street up and make it actually an improvement. There are several homes that face that street, so that is their access.
There's 6 of them.
Yeah, and so So being that it's more like an alleyway than a conforming street to today's standards, I think it would be advantageous to make it an improved street and bring it through if we can acquire the right-of-way through that corridor there. It would also limit anybody trying to cut through areas and make shortcuts through there. Police and fire, garbage trucks, plows, everything else. You know, right now, I think the garbage trucks go through there and they have to back up, 500 feet or so in order to, just pick up the garbage on that street. So police going in there, so it's one way in, there's no cul-de-sac, there's no turnaround. So that's another challenge for fire and police with regards to, addressing those properties that are in that area. And so I think that's pretty much sums it up.
That pretty much sums it up. That's it, Sean.
Well,
It's over there in your warehouse, so.
Here's one question, Joe, that I would ask of you that.
Yes, sir.
And I don't have a problem with the project. I completely agree with you. We have a similar situation on that alley just to the east that those people on Connecticut butt up against. But this is an opportunity to solve your other problem. And I want to make sure we're on the same page, that if we make the improvements to Massachusetts, that gravel road is yours. And we've been round and round and round and round about this thing on the maps and
Yeah, it got on a map.
Amazon and all
That's
that.
what started the whole
If we
thing.
improve this, Matt, there's no cut to Joe's property on Massachusetts on the west side. I think that would solve the problem, Joe, of people going through there for you. If we rebuild that road and don't allow that curb cut, you know what I'm talking about, on the west
Yeah,
side?
The thing is Google was taking them that way.
Yeah.
The delivery drivers were being directed down there because it got on the map and it got on Google Maps as a street. They actually named it 70th Place. My driveway, it's on your map as 70th Place.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I have a copy of it.
Well, that's the
what
thing, though,
started
Joe.
the whole thing. Way back to 1999, Sean.
Right.
It goes.
But
Oh, yeah.
it's not on the Lake County GIS that the surveyor does. It's the other mapping programs that Matt
the road
looked into.
improvements to improve the road. It's not a road. It's an alley.
Yeah.
It says Massachusetts Street, but it's not a street.
Well, those are their legal
By definition,
addresses, though,
it can't
too.
be a street.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a one-lane alley, is all it is. And I've been taking care of the town's property all these years, mowing it. Nobody mows that. That's not our property.
Yeah.
I mow it.
All right.
There's nobody
Matt,
else
let's
will
get
mow
with
it.
Steve. We'll get with Steve King, Joe,
For
and
33 years, I
figure
mowed it.
out what the cost is going to be to do this. We'll try and get the right of way, and then
It would be awesome for the whole neighborhood there. It'd be a great improvement.
Got to engineer it then.
We need to go through this on the Indiana Code Road.
Yeah, I think Mr. Prince owns the right-of-way we need to acquire. He has the gas station in the corner there at 68th. And it's, there's a right-of-way all up until that property there, so
See if
it's not
Mr.
much.
Prince wants to be a.
Prince Singh.
Yeah.
And donate the land.
Well, that's where I was going to go with that, Joe, not in the public.
Well, I read
but
mine already.
Well, yeah, we're gonna ask for a donation, obviously, from him. He's received other approvals from the town. Hopefully, a good neighbor policy will be in effect. So we will take care of it for you.
Mr. Berger, just to let you know, Councilman Pettit has talked to me. We're gonna be, working on your blighted and abandoned building problem. That's,
Okay, I can stand on the back of my driveway, and with a stone, I can hit 3 of them. One right next door to me, one 4 doors down, and one across the way.
we're coming on board.
3 blighted houses.
Okay, we're coming on board. I'm just letting you know.
I'm just letting you know. I want to thank you again.
Well, no problem.
Thank you, everybody. No hard feelings for my past behavior. I left the clown noses in the car, and that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, Joe. No noses. Please, no.
Brian Messart, 201 East 68th Place. I'd like to take a quick council vote on the no hard feelings against Joe. No? Okay.
I have no hard feelings. He used to have my 4x4 in his yard. Right, Joe, did you not have my 4x4 in your yard?
Another issue with Massachusetts
Just let
Street
Mr. Messert talk.
that should be legally addressed is if you actually go on to, there are people who have houses that have fence lines that actually encroach on Merrillville's right-of-way for a street. That should probably be addressed because I think after a certain period of time, a fence is up, it'd be hard to. Another thing that I would like to address is I received an anonymous letter in the mail on Saturday that says, as a concerned resident of the town of Merrillville, I was just wondering what services this, quote, code enforcement, in quote, employee is providing to the town. I'll see you at the council meeting. With a picture of what I'm assuming is to be someone sleeping in their car. I don't know if this is very good proof or evidence of anything. My first concern is this. Someone actually looked up my address to figure out where I live, which bothered me a little. But then it's like, this is an issue that we need to address in the sense of operational security for the town of Merrillville. It's nice that residents want to get involved, but we're getting to the point where residents are so frustrated that they're taking pictures of people who work for the town of Merrillville. And where is it going to stop? Code enforcement? Where is it going to stop? Public Works? The police department would have a serious problem. Fire would have a serious problem with people following around and taking their pictures all the time. It's bothersome because what it does is I've made complaints as well as Joe in my neighborhood. I have abandoned buildings. I have garbage cans that are never taken back. I have trash in yards all over the place. And it's like, we continue to hear complaints that the code enforcement officers are overwhelmed, but it's like, this is not a picture of someone being overwhelmed. I have written emails to everyone on council that I would like to be on the Blighted and Abandoned Building Committee. I have received 0 response. Here's a resident who wants to take action and help correct things, first in my neighborhood and then for all of Merrillville, and we're still doing nothing. And it's just bothersome to me. We need to, to me, this isn't a let's slap someone's hand and get someone in trouble. This is like indicative of a much larger problem that we need to address. And it's a level of frustration because now someone knows that they can send me letters because I'm going to stand in front of you and say, hey, what's going on?
Well, Brian, I want to say that I did get your, Mr. President, I did receive your email, but as you know, well, you may not know, which you should, it's in the meeting agenda, but I am now chair of the Abandoned and Blighted Properties, and so I just had to have my first meeting so I can figure out which route to go and how to move forward. So we will be responding so that you can be invited when I find out what volunteers look like and what the committee looks like.
I would certainly appreciate it because this is something that I am becoming passionate about because we need to address the situation. And it's not just my neighborhood, it's a lot of neighborhoods. And I like Mr. January's idea where we can get people with spring cleanups. I think that would be great. And a lot of people like to blame waste management for, yes, but you know what, sometimes I live by the high school. I've been picking up trash out of my yard for 20 plus years. We need to start getting people like, you know what, sometimes there's trash in your yard, pick it up. Let's make the neighborhood pretty. That's what we need, and I'm more than happy to beat that drum. Thank you.
Under announcements, we have the Black History Celebration Dinner on February 23rd at 6 o'clock. The next town council meeting is February 27th at 6:30. And we have a redevelopment commission meeting on February 27th at 6:15. Is that right, Mr. Pettit?
Yes, and there's also going to be a workshop on that day.
You'll send notice out.
And we'll send notice out on the time.
Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
No plan commission.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is.
Thank you.
What?
We are
We'll have a
adjourned.
plan commission workshop in March.
March.
March.